Oh, okay. Let me talk to to Bini Yamu a little bit before I begin. Bini Yam, man, welcome to the. Come on, brother, man. No, no, no. Come on, brother.
Hey man,
People
how you
usually
doing?
when they come here for the first time, they don't really show their face. Not all of them, some of them. But I appreciate, man, for showing your face. How are you,
Hey
brother?
man, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for becoming the voice for the
Yeah,
voiceless.
mm.
I really do.
Man, I really appreciate because you give me strength. You strengthen me to keep doing what I'm doing for what you're doing out there. You know what I'm saying? So I
Amen.
really
Amen.
appreciate what you're doing too, because
Amen.
you're encouraging me to keep doing what I'm doing. I feel like I have people who are behind me, who are with me, and we're doing this together. So I really appreciate that.
Amen. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
can't wait to discuss everything you want to discuss today.
that's amazing. Where are you right now?
Right now I'm living in Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas,
All right.
Nevada. I came here like 3 years ago. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah.
What are you doing there?
I go to UNLV. It's a university here. I study architecture.
Is it masters?
No, no, it's just a BA.
Undergrad. Oh
Yeah.
man, and it's only 3 years program.
Yeah, it's a 4 year course, and I only study
Uh-huh.
three, so one more to go.
One more to go. And originally, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Ethiopia. I came here
Oh,
in 2018. Yeah.
okay. And are you gonna go back home
When I'm done, yes, but not now.
when you're done? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And what about the? Are you guys going outside there today, or there are people outside already? Because I know in a lot of states, people will be outside marching for no more movement.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in Las Vegas, I'm not aware of any demonstrations, but this is the
Oh, oh,
least we can do together because
yes, yes,
this
yes.
is a very serious
Mm,
problem for us.
yeah. It's very motivating to see what Ethiopian are doing right now, by stepping up and standing up for their nation, for the continent. And a lot of people right now, they're involved from all over the world. What do you have to say about that, everything that's going on right now?
Yeah, everything's going on right now is very important, not only in Ethiopia, but for the rest of
Mm,
Africa,
mm,
because this is where Ethiopia draws the line in the sand and say, hey, we're not going
mm,
to allow anyone
mm,
to come
mm,
and say, hey, this is how you're going to live, and you're going to be our puppet,
mm,
and you're going to have to be okay with it. That's the main
mm,
clash between Abiy Ahmed's
mm,
government and
mm,
foreign interventionists, because
mm,
they were on Ethiopia's side, but now
mm,
that Abiy made it clear that he cannot be a puppet,
mm,
they are turning against him. So it's very important, not only for Ethiopia, but for Africa, how we handle this. Because if they defeat Ethiopia on this foreign intervention war,
mm,
then no other country is safe at this point. So it's
mm,
very important for us to say no
yeah,
more. And when we
mm,
say it, I think it's important to say, we're not hating America. We're hating
mm,
um, their foreign intervention that is making us suffer.
mm,
And I think it's very important what's going on right
mm,
now.
yeah. It's very important for Africa, for the current and future generation of Africa. And but what is really bothering me? I didn't know this until today. I didn't know how much Africa is divided even right now. Okay, I've always known that Africa is very divided, but today I was looking at this one conversation. You guys can check it out. I know these we say they are fake medias, and because of what they always bring out on the table. We talk about CNN, we talk about BBC, we talk about Al Jazeera. So today, right before this, I was looking at one interview that it was done by Al Jazeera. They call this session "Look Inside," and they have two Africans there, like one from Kenya, another one from Nigeria, and then they have one American. It's I was listening to that, and it's crazy how I realized that, man, Africa, we're divided because even in this crisis right now, there are people who still thinking that America, they want the best for Ethiopia. There are people who think like that in Africa right now, that Americans, they're there to easing the damage that is about to happen. And there are people who we believe that no, they're actually there to take advantage of the situation. They have that reputation for a long time, And that's what we have seen everywhere. And that is happening right now. And another thing that really scared me, we all know what happened before in Libya. And so the way that they were talking about, even that representative from America, it's crazy that he thinks that they actually helped Libya by killing Gaddafi up to this moment, like right now. So I was really surprised. Do you think this is something that for yourself as well, you see that there's this division among ourselves?
Yeah, the division is scary because you said it yourself earlier. The problem is not the foreign intervention. The problem is the traitors from within. So let me give you a little bit of a history. Maybe you know this. So there was this emperor called Emperor Theodros II.
Oh, I love that guy.
And yeah, you know him, right? He killed himself because there was an expedition against him. So what you have to understand is no other country, I mean, countries understand that you cannot invade Ethiopia and conquer it for too long, right? So what they will do is they're going to find a traitor within your country, and then they are going to use them against you to forward their agenda. So what they did back then was they contacted a person named Johannes IV, and they told him, hey, we're going to give you everything you want, just let us pass through easily. And he agreed. He agreed, and he said, okay, I'm going to allow you to come in through the Red Sea, through Eritrea. Eritrea was part of Ethiopia back then. And he said, I'm going to allow you to come in. Yeah. So he said, I'm going to allow your forces to come through Eritrea and Tigray region to attack the capital back then, which I think was in Mekelle. And the troops just walked in. They didn't do anything. They just simply walked in all the way without any resistance. So because of that, they were surprised and they lost. So that is something that is happening right now, because when foreign countries want to forward their agenda, they're going to use our own people against us.
Exactly.
So that is very disturbing to see. But that's not going to happen because Abiy Ahmed has the entire country behind him. And as long as you have that, that is not going to happen.
So do you really think that everyone, I mean, you really think that everyone is, of course, taking out the TPLF, do you think everyone is behind him, is with him?
Yes, I do believe everyone's behind him. And as for the TPLF, here's the thing. For 3 years after they lost their central power, Abiy Ahmed tried everything he could to resolve this peacefully, politically. For 3 years, they have been working their hardest to wreak havoc in the country. Week after week, we used to hear deaths. 30 people die in Benshangul, 20 people die here, 30 people die here. And the rest of the country was in turmoil. And somehow, the Tigray region was the most peaceful region in Ethiopia. And even the TPLF was saying, well, Tigray is the only peaceful region in Ethiopia. And this leader is not fit to lead because, there are deaths everywhere. But the truth is, they were inciting that violence themselves. On his very first rally as a prime minister, they tried to assassinate him. That would have been a good cause to go to war, but he didn't. They killed the highest ranking chief of staff of the army. That would have been a good cause to go to war, but he didn't. They killed the regional government president of Amhara region. In America, they call it a governor. That would have been a good cause to go to war, but he didn't. And he went to Mekelle to talk to Debretsion, the rebel leader. He went to Aksum, holding hands with him. They went to Hawassa for national dialogue. Nobody paid attention. And his resilience, his patience was misinterpreted as fear. And everyone has a breaking point, even Abiy did. So when they attacked the Northern Command, no other country would tolerate that. So he responded. So that's what happened. And it's very unfortunate. That's an oversimplified version, but that's just what happened in a nutshell.
Yeah. And thank you so much for everything that you said. And I want to ask you, do you see okay, this is a difficult question. Sad question. Do you see a united Ethiopia? You as an Ethiopian, and I'm talking about all these different ethnicity. Thank you, Jira. Thank you so much. Thank you. All this ethnicity like Oromo, Tigrayan, Amhara, and other there are Somali Ethiopians in Jigjiga, right? Do you
Yes, sir.
see a united Ethiopia?
When I see Ethiopia, I see a united Ethiopia, but I also see a handful of poisoners of goodwill. That's the problem.
What do you mean by that?
Because there are people in the Oromia region that are
Yeah,
trying to uprise against the current prime minister. There are people
yeah,
in Benchangul everywhere that are trying to partner with the TPLF to
mm,
overthrow this government. And
mm,
don't get me wrong, Abiy is not a perfect prime minister, but at
of
the
course.
moment, he
Mm,
is our best bet. There's no
uh,
other Ethiopian politician that can come close to what he's
uh,
capable of doing. Abiy
uh,
Ahmed not only understands geopolitics, he
mm,
understands that you have to play it well, or else you're either going to die like Gaddafi,
uh,
or you are going to maintain your national pride. So, as for
mm,
your question, yes, I think a lot of Ethiopians are behind him, and
mm,
I I want to I want to say this as loudly as I can because as a
uh,
Tigrayan, the
mm.
TPLF does not represent us because for 27
Wait,
years,
wait,
yeah,
I don't know. So you are Tigrayan, right?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
I love this already. I love this, brother. I love this so much because somebody here was here yesterday, by the name of, I think maybe you have
I
seen in the
remember
comment
him. I
section.
remember him. He's a fake
Yes, and
account.
it was like you need to bring here, more Tigrian, to talk about this because most of people they're here, they're just supporters of Abia. So
Yeah,
I'm really glad that I have you here. Please, you can carry on. Uh-huh.
yeah. I'm glad to be here too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, to reiterate, the TPLF does not represent Tigrayan people because for
Yeah.
27 years while they were in power,
Mm-hmm.
Tigrayans did not have water. They did not have
Mm-hmm.
clean water.
Yeah.
They did not have better infrastructure. They were
Mm-hmm.
only benefiting their self and their inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
And once they're well, once they lost their position in the central government, they were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, we're going to retreat back to Tigray and pretend like we're there for the people." So,
Uh,
these people are terrorists, textbook
mm,
terrorists.
mm, mm,
And it's important to separate the TPLF against the
mm,
Tigrayan
mm,
because all terrorists are
mm,
Muslims, as you know, but
mm.
all Muslims are not terrorists.
That's true.
The same way,
Mm,
every TPLF member is Tigrayan,
mm,
like me, but
mm,
every Tigrayan is not TPLF.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
I
mm.
I I really hope that most Ethiopians can draw a comparison between the Tigrayan
Yeah.
people that just want
Mm,
to live peacefully, that just want
mm,
clean water, that don't want
mm.
food,
Yeah.
versus the TPLF that is
Mm,
using Tigrayans
mm.
to launch a bloody war in our country.
Man, I cannot imagine because do you think there are other people? Do you think there are
Mhm.
other people who believe that like when they just see Tigrayan, they don't trust. They think that, oh, these are TPLF. Do you see that tension, in Ethiopia because you're coming from that region?
Yeah, so when I left, it wasn't as bad as it is now, but
Yeah.
my friends tell me that, just because you're Tigrayan, you're being targeted. But the
Uh,
problem is what they don't understand is right
mm,
now thousands of Tigrayans are being detained in Addis Ababa. And
yeah.
I'm going to tell you the reason why.
Uh,
Because when the TPLF want to
mm,
wreak havoc in your city, they don't send
yeah.
troops first. They send
Yeah.
their informants. They send their helpers
Uh,
first. So
yeah.
in the city, they
Yeah.
have a wide and strong network of their
Mm,
own informants
yeah.
ready to receive them, ready
Yeah.
to send out information,
Mm,
look at access points and weaknesses.
mm,
So the government was monitoring them, in my opinion, and
yeah.
they caught them. And when they were
Mm,
caught, they weren't caught
mm,
with, empty hands. They had
yeah.
satellite,
Uh,
radios. They
uh,
had money that,
uh,
is illegitimate. They had
uh,
weapons. They had bombs. So
mm,
they're not arrested because they're Tigrayan. They're arrested because they were assisting the TPLF and um, um, assisting the TPLF, and they just happen to be Tigrayans.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I really thank you for clarifying that, because yesterday, if you were here, I think you have seen that as well. You know, that question, actually somebody like raised up that question and saying that why a lot of Tigrayan are, you know, detained in Addis Ababa. I
Yeah.
asked them why, and I remember I asked here, and you know, it was quite of a discussion. But I want to ask you this question. This is another perspective, because about the same thing about unity, you know, in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So, do you? This is your personal opinion, right? Because you know we all have our personal opinion, and for me, I always believe that, you know, our voice matters, and we need to raise our voice. You know,
Exactly.
so from your perspective, do you think the only solution for Tigrayan, Amhara, and the rest of Ethiopia to be at peace is by dividing these two places, like to let them have their own way? Or do you think there is still a hope for Tigrayan people to still be part of Ethiopia? Because it is Ethiopia. Like, you guys are Ethiopian, but there are people in your side that they think that no, we are not Ethiopian, and we want to have our own country, right? So do you
Yeah.
think that is the only solution to solve this crisis? That okay, we just need to separate this thing to ease it down, or you think there's still hope, and all these people who are saying that, you know, Ethiopia is not Tigrayan, they don't really represent all Tigrayan? Like, what is your thought on that?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I just want to acknowledge that this question is a very important question, a very well-crafted question, and in my opinion, it raises above all the other questions. So
Yeah.
before I answer that, let's talk about Eritrean independence, right?
Okay.
Eritrea decided to become independent.
Love it.
That is very good. But what you have to understand is Eritrea is stuck in the 1980s now. Millions of Eritreans, I think around 700,000 or 1 million, which is like a quarter of their population, left the country. They fled to Tigray region because the conditions there are unspeakable. And there are many Eritrean immigrants across the world because you cannot live and prosper in Eritrea at the moment because of a government that is almost the same as the TPLF. And to give you a little bit of a background history, the EPLF, the Eritrean People Liberation Front, and the TPLF were a very small insurgent group in the northern part of Ethiopia. So if you want to go back a little bit, you have to understand the Soviet Union. Okay, so the Soviet Union was expanding for global domination, right? And during that time, the last emperor of Ethiopia, Emperor Haile Selassie, I saw him on your Twitter cover, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So Emperor Haile Selassie and JFK met in Washington, D.C. Fast forward a few months later, both men were killed by their own by their own citizen at the behest of the Soviet Union. So both leaders were dead because the Soviet Union used their own citizens against them. There you go. This is a very powerful image.
Yeah.
So America understood that, you know, this global push, global dominance of the Soviet Union cannot be tolerated. So America and other countries decided to respond. And long story short, the Soviet collapsed.
Yeah.
But before that, the Soviet Union tried to create a communist regime in Ethiopia, and they succeeded. So the government before the TPLF was known as the Derg, and it was a communist regime. And that communist regime was friends with Russia and, you know, North Korea. And America was Ethiopia's ally. And I still believe America is Ethiopia's ally. And at that moment, America came to Ethiopia's rescue secretly. How did they do it? They helped the EPLF and the TPLF gain power. So long before they gained power, there was this important figure in this story named as Meles Zenawi, who was in London already writing a constitution long before they were in Addis. So long story short, they seized the power, new constitution, democracy, blah, blah, blah. And for 27 years, they led the country with an iron grip. There was an election in 2010 where they won, I think, 95% of the seats in the parliament. And then 5 years later, they said they won 100% of the seats in the parliament.
Dang.
That is just bizarre and fake. And that tells you everything you need to know about their iron grip on Ethiopia's social, economic, and political structure. So to answer your question, right now, I don't think the government should negotiate with them because the time for negotiation has passed. It's long past due. And if Tigrayans decide to be independent, I'm a Tigrayan. Independence is not going to lead us to nowhere. Independence against the TPLF, I'm down for it. But the problem is the TPLF, if they decide to take Tigray with them, it's going to be a problem because the TPLF cannot peacefully coexist with Eritrea, with neighboring Amhara, with neighboring Afar. And if you can't do that, how are you going to continue as a country? Because when you're a country, you need to import goods from across the world and export goods across the world. How will you be able to do that when you cannot make peace with Amhara, with Afar, with Eritrea? They cannot possibly survive as a country. And mark my words, if they become independent, millions of Tigrayans will flee back to Ethiopia, back to Amhara, because the living conditions are going to be horrific. So that is not the solution. The solution is removing the TPLF from the equation. Then we can talk about national unity, dialogue, blah, blah, blah. But right now, it's important to remove the TPLF from the equation.
Yeah. So I wanna hear you. What do you want to tell? What do you want to say to the rest of Ethiopians? You as a Tigrayan, right? What do you want to say to everybody who is watching and listening right now?
Right now, I want to first, since I'm in the United States, I'd like to say that this is a great country. The people are great. And to a certain extent, the government is a good government. If you must object the policies, not the policymakers. And I see a lot of people being disillusioned with the United States government. I don't think that's fair. I heard there were some instances where people, were burning the American flag. That is burning a flag where, a flag that Americans care about. And you're essentially burning American values, which is really bad. America was Ethiopia's ally. So I want to first address that hating America is not going to solve the problem. It's only going to make things worse. So the best thing to do is going out, saying no more, and voicing your concern because you're in America. I can say this freely without impunity because I have the freedom of speech. But just because you have the freedom of speech does not mean, you
can abuse it.
Silent.
Yeah.
So long story short, the most important thing to do is not hating against America and Americans. The second thing is, as a Tigrayan,
I believe that the TPLF is extremely bad for our country and for the region. And I understand what other countries, are concerned about. They're concerned about, this war escalating to, the entire of East Africa and destabilizing Somalia, Sudan, and other countries. And that's a valid concern. But at the end of the day, you cannot negotiate with terrorists. America did not negotiate with ISIS. They did not negotiate with Al-Shabaab. They did not negotiate with Al-Qaeda. And the TPLF is the same for us. So we cannot allow them to be the poisoner of goodwill. And once we remove them from the equation, we can talk about Tigrayans and other ethnicities of Ethiopia coexisting together.
I want to ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
As you know that America don't negotiate with terrorists, right?
Yes, sir.
But why do you think America is supporting TPLF right now, and all the delusion that's going on in the media about
Mhm.
Ethiopian situation. What do you think
Yeah.
that's the case?
So I'm not sure if I clearly heard your question, but I feel like you said something like, why is the United States government helping or letting or pressuring Ethiopia to negotiate with these terrorists? I think there are multiple reasons for this, and one of the first reasons for this will be the fact that the United States might not be happy with the current Abiy government because the previous administration and the previous Trump administration somehow, by some miracle, was working with the Ethiopian Prime Minister to help remove the TPLF and stop them from destroying our country. The current administration, however, believes that we can resolve this peacefully and politically, but that it's too late for now.
That is against their own belief. That's against their own belief because they don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah. So you're right. It's against their own belief, but at the end of the day, you can, unless you're involved in the geopolitical drama, you can never really understand what is going on. So in my opinion, I think what's really going on is that they might not be pleased with Abiy's government towards them because they would like him to be, obedient to them. When they want their, some multinational company drilling oil in Ethiopia and Abiy saying, hey, that's not fair, I'm not going to allow that. That might have caused a rift. I don't know what happened. But what I do know is that they do not like that Abiy is not, bending to their will. So they're doing everything they can to twist his arm into submission. So I think if Abiy suddenly says, "Hey, I'm gonna do whatever you say, I'm gonna be on your side," then they're gonna say all of a sudden, "Hey, the TPLF is bad. We need to remove them," and they're gonna help Ethiopia. So I don't know the real reason why, but this is just a supposition.
I'll tell you what I love about the Prime Minister is the spirit he has and what he stands for, Pan-Africanism, and his belief about Africa's ability to handle their own issues and to deal with their own problem. That's the reason why I think these are kind of leaders that we need in Africa. And I know that not all of them they are perfect, but this is kind of mentality that we need, that we can stand, we can do things on our own without the interference, because we are capable and we don't need that interference. So that's one of the reasons why I support that. I wonder what about you?
So here's the thing. In order to understand how Abiy came to power, you need to understand how America saved Ethiopia, basically. So there is this guy named Donald Yamamoto. I'm not sure if you know him, but he was like Jeffrey Feltman?
No, I don't know.
Jeffrey Feltman is the special envoy to the U.S. He's currently in Ethiopia. He is like the special envoy for Horn of Africa. So he's in Ethiopia right now.
Jeff. I had an interview with him the other day. The Jeff Pierce? You're talking about Jeff Pierce,
not
right?
Jeff Pierce. His name is Jeffrey Feltman. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, I don't know.
He's a very important figure if you want to understand him. There's a video of him at Meles Zenawi's funeral, and I think he made a speech on the Institute of Peace here in the United States about the situation in Ethiopia. So if you understand him, you can understand what America's intentions are in Ethiopia. So there is this guy named Donald Yamamoto, and he pretty much, him and certain American senators basically cherry-picked Abiy Ahmed. Because there was so in 2016, President Obama became the first sitting U.S. president to visit Ethiopia and the African Union, which is in Ethiopia. And fast forward 2 years later, there was a popular protest in Oromia region, and in an event called Erecha. Erecha is like the Thanksgiving for the Oromo culture, if I'm not mistaken. and the TPLF ruthlessly killed innocent protesters, showing this gesture, and the TPLF slaughtered them, and that did not make things, it just made things worse and worse and worse. And after that, they said, okay, in order to quiet this down, we need to appoint an Oromo prime minister as a puppet, as a symbol, and we can do whatever we want behind the shadows. Whatever we say to him, he's going to do. So with the pressure of America, and a lot of convincing and a lot of political maneuvering that I don't have time to discuss, they helped Abiy Ahmed gain power. And when Abiy came to power, everybody loved him, including the TPLF, because he helped stabilize things, and everybody loved the reforms he had in mind, myself included. But on his very first rally, they were trying to kill him. Or not even kill him, but I think they were trying to send a message saying, hey, you crossed the line, we're here. You're going to have to feel our presence. So they even sent a group of commandos, highly trained commandos, to the National Palace. Some of them, were told, hey, you're going to have to ask for a raise. Some of them don't even know why they're there. They were just sent there to fight. And the Deputy Prime Minister, Demeka Mekonnen, calmed them down a little bit, and Abiy Ahmed discussed with them. Any other African prime minister would have started to fight a war against those commandos. But Abiy Ahmed discussed with them. He talked them down. He pitched them the vision, and he even did push-ups with them. I'm sure you can find. The picture of him doing push-ups with the same men that were sent to kill him. So yeah, I think that's the reason why America is really not happy with him, because they were like, at the end of the day, they appointed him, and I'm sure he might not be returning that favor. So that's why they are upset with him.
Well, brother, I wanna really appreciate you for coming here today. This was not really planned interview, but it turned out to be one of the best conversations I've had. So I want to appreciate you for your voice, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too. And I hope you can keep on going with this no more movement, because that's the best thing we can do right now. We cannot, we don't wield constitutional authority. So this is the best thing we can do as citizens. And I really appreciate you for doing this, because at the end of the day, you can say, oh, it's none of my business. I'm not Ethiopian. But this concerns you too as an African, because when a foreign government is pressuring you to negotiate with terrorists, that is not good. So I appreciate you for speaking up against this, even when others were saying, oh, it's none of your business, you're not Ethiopian. They pulled that card because they don't have a valid reason, valid fact to go against you. So they use something to, break you down and discourage you. And guess what? Don't be discouraged, because this thing might even happen to Tanzania. So keep going. Don't give up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
No, man, I appreciate it, man. I love you, brother. I love you, brother. And please come often. I love you so much, man.
Thank you. I love you too.
All right. Peace. Stay safe, care, man. All right. You too. Oh, guys. Come on, man. Come on, guys. I can stop.